It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship and the Junior Cup category, our first of 6 for 2023 from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta here in Braselton, Georgia, as the stage is being set for our first race in Junior Cup. I'm Greg White sitting alongside Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, it's a beautiful day for racing, and leading the way is this young Alessandro Di Mario.
Yeah, well, the great news is we're going to have a new champion this year, Greg, and Alessandro Di Mario yesterday threw out the first shots in round 1 here in Atlanta.
So with that, we have a spectacular race that's on deck for you. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Hayden Bickney's qualified second. We expect a race of 5 or 6 up front. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.
All right, starting to clear the grid and get ready for this one to get underway. What is going to be key here with these lightweight bikes, these smaller bikes? What's the key now to getting the launch and getting into one well?
Well, just getting a good start and keeping it clean the first lap so you do not lose that top draft. You know, if 5 or 6 guys get going or drafting each other and they pull away and you're by yourself, it's going to be hard to close that gap. So the big thing is, you know, get a good start, keep it clean. No, don't make a mistake the first lap and lose that draft.
Yeah, you got to stay in it, obviously, and then you also have to have the discipline, obviously, to to understand that if you're sitting back in 6th and you get that big toe and you go to the lead, you may not want to necessarily lead all the time. I mean, these bikes, you've got to play a lot of mental chess while you're out there, don't you?
Yeah, and you know, for all the kids, they're going to be learning as they go. We've been talking about the draft so much, how it's just going to suck these guys in, and then they're going to be moving around trying to break the draft. And you got to watch the riders in front of you. Some of them are going to be, weaving, trying to break the draft, and just learning as it goes. That's each lap. They're just going to learn,
right,
and they're going to know going in and just keep getting better.
And this is probably the moment they've really been waiting for, as that grid clears. They can snap that visor down, and now it's just sheer focus. The bikes fire up, and they are getting ready to go out on their installation lap here. And one of the things that hasn't changed a lot for these guys is these Dunlop tires. Tony Romo from Dunlop told me minor changes for them, but they're trying to keep that fairly consistent, for these riders here. These tires have been absolutely superb for these Junior Cup riders for a while now. And there is a look at the number 14 of Chase Black, starting on that inside, in the 4th spot, which is actually outside of that row 2. But everybody getting ready here and going to do this practice start.
Man, they handled that almost like it was the start of the race.
They did. That was pretty. The only guy that just seemed to not be too worried about it from that front group was Alessandro Di Mario, the pole sitter. He didn't really ignite or anything. He just let everybody go. But obviously now they didn't go out really for any qualifying this morning in those sketchy conditions for the most part. So like everybody else here, they have not really ridden at speed on this track now since their qualifying session yesterday afternoon. So even this one installation lap, you got to be paying attention, don't you?
And also too, these guys, it's important to pay attention to the other classes when the track, just to make sure it's clean.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's getting ready to go here. Let's get over to Greg White and Jason Pridmore.
MotoAmerica Junior Cup coverage is brought to you by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Welcome back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta here in Braselton, Georgia. Junior Cup on their warm-up lap. Let's take a look at the starting grid. And it is 14-year-old Alessandro Di Mario on pole, Jason.
Yeah, next to Hayden Bickney's and Avery Dreyer. Then Chase Black, Medina, and Max Van there outside row number 2. Rossi Moore, Aiden Sneed, Jaden Fernandez, Dylan Singh, Chris Elliott, and Logan Cunnison. A little further back, row 5, Greg, Chris Clark, Nicky Muschler, Logan Monk, Isaac Woodworth, Jasmine Nichols, JT Rivera. Bunch of new names for us to get used to, Greg.
Tons of new names in this category.
Jonathan Hollingsworth, Alyssa Gendron's back there, Ivan Rivera, Trenton Keese, and Aaron Rothenberger are going to round out the field. So we got 23 riders total. New champion coming, as we said in the opening. And, you know, Greg, I think that, again, we've got kind of a mix-up at the front because we've never seen Alessandro before. And but he's got 5 people just behind him that we've seen in the series before. So we got some young kids, too.
Your pole sitter, DeMario, at 14 years old. The AMA Nikki Hayden Horizon Award winner in 2022. And tons of experience already. Revs are up. The light on the left part of your screen, when it goes off, we're racing. Here we go. The mad dash to turn number 1. Race 1 of Junior Cup is underway. And it looks like a good launch from the 69 of Hayden Bickneys.
Looks like Medina got a great start also and just kind of tried to get between 2 guys and that door closed, so it's going to shove him back to 5th, maybe even 6th by the time they get up the hill.
So Bickneys out of Missouri on the Bickneys Racing Ninja 400. The majority of this field on Kawasaki Ninja 400s with 2 standouts. Aiden Sneed on the Yamaha R3 and Rossi Moore on the KTM RC 390R. But so far what we've seen is that Kawasaki being the class of the field.
Got a little bit of a breakaway already between 2 riders here, as you can see, Greg. See the number 99 there, Avery Dreyer and Bickneys trying to get away. And now, as quickly as I say that, DeMario is trying to close back up on the back of them, and he's done so as they roll off into turn 6. So 3 riders be able to use that draft down that back straightaway. We talk about this back straightaway at this place all the time. But the rider in 4th right now is obviously a little bit too far back.
A little bit too far, but it's a long run down the back straightaway on these lightweight displacement motorcycles. As we head off through the kink, down into turn 10A and 10B will go. It is 3 wide, heading down into the corner. Who's going to be mad on the brakes? It's our Junior Cup veteran, I guess, Hayden Bickneys at 16 years old, you could say, who leads the way on the 69.
And look, you've seen some of these riders, like we said, Greg, between Bickneys and Dreyer, Chase Black, Medina and Max Van. They've all been around. They all know how the series works. They all know how these racetracks are. They've seen races here in Atlanta and been in them. So for those guys right now, this is going to be pretty familiar. As you see, Max Van is taken to the point back there. Number 34, Greg, Rossi Moore. You talked about him earlier being on another brand bike other than the Kawasaki's that we see dominating this class. He's on that KTM. He's kind of got himself in that battle for 4th as well.
So you're looking at Hayden Bickneys, 16 years old. He's on the 69. Behind him is Avery Dreyer on the 99, also 16. And then 14-year-old Alessandro DeMario in his debut. Of course, for DeMario, not only the Nikki Hayden Horizon Award winner for last year, but also your North American Talent Cup champion, a series that lasted a season. No longer with us. It took some young talent. We've got a couple riders from the North American Talent Cup last year's racing series in the mix.
Is Max Van the only one that's won in this class? I think. I'm trying to think if Avery had won before, but because he's doing a great job out in front right now, kind of pulling these other 2 guys along, and you can see they have opened up a big gap now on 4th place. So we'll check that also. But it's right now Dreyer with the lead, or Bickney, sorry, with the lead. Dreyer there in 2nd.
As our lead pack streams down the back straightaway, heading to turn 10A, we have caught wind that there's been an incident on the racetrack. JT Rivera, 77 down. Red flag is out on this one, which means it's race stoppage. All right, we're going to get this sorted, and we'll take a break and step away from Race 1 Junior Cup with this red flag. When we return, we'll get this race going again.
While we're under this red flag here, it's Greg Creamer and Roger Hayden back with you. And unfortunate to see that after about, lap and a half through a rider having an incident. It looks like down at the bottom of turn 12. And So red flag is coming out, and that's all part of the regular program. You have a rider that goes down that's in a sketchy area. They will always throw the red, just because it makes vehicles, if there's cleanup on the track that needs to be done or whatever, a lot quicker and easier to get to, which means we can get back to racing just a little bit quicker. But I'll tell you what, Alessandro Di Mario, it was interesting to me that on that when they set off on their installation lap, he was the only one who didn't really give it some welly on that practice start, and he may have paid the price because he ended up third.
Yeah, it looked like maybe he was trying to save the clutch a little bit possibly, so for him wasn't a great start, but he recovered really quick. The top three looked like, those guys were trying to make a break, and they had a pretty good gap, so Max Van and the rest of the guys, this red flag might work into their favor. I mean, they don't want to see nobody get hurt, but they kind of lost that draft, and now I think when this race goes green again, they're going to know that they need to get going a little bit quicker, or the top three will pull away like they just did.
And how about that start and opening lap by Rossi Moore, up from 7th to 5th and looking really strong on the KTM?
Yeah, great start from him, and I think it was great to see him get in that draft, and then those three or four were kind of going back and forth there, had a battle there, and I think another guy will see how that first start played out. This is his first Junior Cup race, and know that, whatever they did was costing them some time, and they were losing the draft.
I think you bring up a really good point here about what the riders outside of that top three. We talk about it all the time, don't we? About how, like, Jake Gagne, when whatever session it is, he's on it immediately. And if you're going to succeed in this sport, you have to be able to just flip that switch right now, and not kind of take it easy for a lap or two. You've got to get after it.
And you can tell it was the top two guys with the most experience in the class, besides Max Van, who knew that got going really fast right away because they've been in the class before, and the riders previously that they raced with was doing it. And they learned that's what they did, and then they figured it out. Now these other guys, their first year in Junior Cup, they're going to see what the veteran guys are doing that first lap, veteran guys of the class, and not let that happen again.
And that's all part of this learning curve that you alluded to here, to be able to understand now the dynamic of racing on these lightweight bikes as opposed to the mini bikes, essentially, and to figure that out just a little bit, and needing to be able to dial it up in a big hurry here at this stage. And so since this happened on the opening lap, the good news for Alessandro is that it reverts to the initial qualifying lineup, so he will once again have that pole position and start in front of Bickney's Dreyer and the original starting order. So we're going to have to see one if Rossi Moore can make another start like that and hop up into the top 5 in a hurry. And as you said, see if some of these other riders are going to be able to adjust and get to the front a little bit quicker.
And it was almost, like a practice start now. Now the next time you really have to either do what you did the first time or get a better start, and going back to the normal grid. They'll take a couple laps off the race and get this thing back going.
Here's a look there at the number 70 of Alessandro Di Mario, and obviously they're going to be just doing a little bit of anything that they could do. Now here's a question for you, Roger. Red flag in these categories. What can you do to the bike under a red flag condition?
Almost anything you want, but you can't change tires.
Okay.
I mean, that's the big thing that you cannot do. They don't allow that, and I think that's a great rule, and that just saves these guys something less they'd have to do. Even in Junior Cup, they might not even change them anyways, but the bigger classes would for sure. So if you're having a little bit of an issue, you could get it fixed right now. You just can't change tires.
Looking here at the 31 of Trenton Keese and the BSB Racing Kawasaki, he had a little bit of an issue in that qualifying session that really sort of set the grid here, and as a result, back a little bit farther, wasn't able to actually turn much of a lap in that first session. So obviously looking forward to getting a little bit more track time there. And look at the right, number 1, that's where you want to be at the end of this one. And he is looking pretty impressive at this stage. Obviously one lap in, but when you think about what's happened with qualifying and the like, these guys trying to dial it up at this point. One of the nice things is, for these newcomers to this category, I was wondering when they woke up this morning and they heard thunder and pounding rain in the middle of the night, and then they get up and it's raining, going, is my first race in this category going to be in a wet track at Road Atlanta? No less. And it's turned into a beautiful afternoon here.
It really has. I mean, the weather's perfect right now. Definitely a little cooler than yesterday, but after having that rain, the track was a little green this morning, and now looks like we've seen some guys going really quick, and track looks like it's perfect right now.
All right, well, let's see if we can get down to Angel Sampé with some information on one of the newcomers to the category.
I'm down here at Rossi. This is all new to me, so I'd like to hear from you. How's it going today?
It's going pretty good. I didn't have many qualifyings or practices on this track since it was my first time here and first time on this bike. So really every session I'm doing right now is kind of like free practice for me and just trying to get used to the track. So I'm also going to use some of this practice that I just did before the red flag to try and gain some more experience for the next start.
Awesome. So it sounds like things are new to him as well. Thank you.
Well, he had an absolutely great first lap here and start for his first time out. But that's the kind of mentality you want is, yes, I'm going to, I'm obviously here to race. I'm going to try and do what I can and see if I can win. But while I'm doing it, I've got to just continue to learn.
Yeah, and then also, too, I mean, just trying to figure it out, the KTM, he doesn't have a ton of time on it, and I think that's another guy that's going to get a lot stronger as the year goes on. Obviously, super talented rider, and I think for him, knowing how he got that good start, I know he's got confidence. He feels like he can run with the leaders no matter what.
And, even though it really you didn't see much of it last year in the championship, 2 years before, this category was won by a KTM. Does with that absent year in the middle, does he still look at that and go, I know this bike can do it?
I would think so. I mean, if not, why would you ride that bike in the class? So
Exactly.
I think for him, the success he's already had as such a young guy, he feels like he could probably win on anything, and that's the kind of attitude that you have to have going into racing that your bike can win.
Well, it's funny, sometimes you will hear people say that, certain riders or, race car driver, whatever it is, boy, they're arrogant, aren't they? And it's not necessarily arrogance. Some of them are actually quite shy because they've just dedicated their whole life to this, and they don't know the other end of life sometimes. But you don't get to a level where you're running in a pro series without having some pretty serious self-confidence.
Yeah, it's almost like a little bit of an ego, but a healthy one.
Yeah.
And I think every good racer, every good athlete in any sport has it. And I think there's a fine line there, but you definitely have to have the confidence to think that you're the best always. If not, you go into the race already defeated.
That's the key, isn't it? If you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to be there. And that shows pretty quickly, doesn't it? When obviously you just don't feel like you're capable, at least at that level. I was going to mention there, I think that was the number 82 we just had a shot of Jasmine Nichols, the Panda Racing Kawasaki rider, qualified 17th, new to the championship as well. And she was one of the few riders that went out on the damp track in this morning's qualifying session, and she ended up topping it for most of the session. And that's part of that. At some point, odds are you're going to be running in the wet.
Yeah.
Get out there and get some laps.
Yeah, get some laps because you're right. It's going to rain sometime this season, most likely. And now, not having a lot of experience, these younger riders, and maybe in those conditions now she got a feel for it in a qualifying where she could just take her time and creep up to it. Like if it's
Right.
doing it the first time in a race, you got to get your head down because you're trying to get a good result. Got out there this morning, got some good laps in tricky conditions.
And bikes are getting back out on track here, and that's a good sign here. There was just a lot of gravel and debris down at the exit at 12. There's a big gravel trap down there, and you get into that, and it pitches stuff back up onto the track. So that cleanup looks done, and the corner marshals and the track EV people got that taken care of very nicely. So the field now making its way out on a reinstallation lap. And it's important to point out, if you're not that familiar with MotoAmerica racing, in this case, red flag within the first 3 laps, it's a brand new race.
Brand new race, a couple laps shorter. Now, it kind of changes. The race is going to go by a lot quicker. If you make a mistake early, it's going to be less time you have to make it up. But all these riders are so young, they already thought they got that first race nervous jitters out of their system. Now they have to do it again.
Well, they're going to get a lot of good practice on starts. And okay, which leads to something now. You were speculating maybe Alessandro Di Mario was trying to save his clutch. Well, those that got really aggressive on that launch, now they have to abuse the clutch again here. That's part of the curve here. Isn't it?
Yeah, but I think they're pretty strong. These kids, these clutches, they don't really have a lot of problems with them. But it's definitely a possibility, and just getting that good jump again is going to be key. What did you do the first time that worked? What did you do the first time that didn't work? And trying to make it a better start. Like we talked about, the top three looked like they were trying to make a break. So the guys behind them going to have to do something different and not let that happen again.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, these bikes, they aren't putting a huge amount of power through the clutches down to the ground. But that's one of the things that ends up making this class so exciting, is that these are such momentum-driven bikes that once you get up to speed, you want to keep that speed alive at all costs, because if you have a little mistake and you lose that momentum, and all the other bikes that are around you are virtually identical in terms of performance potential, you're going to be at that deficit all the way to the next braking zone, and that's where you can lose touch.
And then also too, this is a spec class. All the bikes are the same. It's not about somebody who can buy better parts or make their bike faster. Everything's equal. It comes down to the rider in this class, and I think that's what's so cool about it is everybody's basically on equal equipment. I mean, a couple different brands, but besides that, the rules are set up to make them competitive.
Right.
So they're all really close.
So if you can shine here in Junior Cup, everybody knows, set up on the bike and you got to work with your crew chief to be able to dial that in. But it's not like you've got an extra 15 horsepower somewhere or whatever. If you do it, it's you and your team that did it, not the bike, and that's pretty crucial. I
think it's huge, and that's what's so great about this class. And it also keeps it less expensive for families and stuff too, so they can get going and get in the sport and see where their kid stands.
All right, you heard the horn. That means all non-necessary personnel off of the grid. It really means only officials are supposed to be out there at this stage. So looks like we are getting ready to go here. All right, there's the release, and that is now for the reinstallation lap. And again, looks like Rossi Moore, Alessandro Di Mario just sort of going, yep, I'm just going to take it easy here.
Well, also, too, some guys don't want to be the first one back because they don't want to set on the grid.
Yep,
like
that's a good
if we're
point.
worried about keeping tires warm or whatever, or clutch, it could be just different things. So, he had a plan. He did the same thing, and it's whatever it is, it's what he likes.
Yeah, it works for him, and that's obviously the important thing here. And so they'll get around here, and then they'll take up that spot, and we will have, as we said, basically a free restart here. And look at this, even on the installation lap, you're going to practice your draft, you're going to do anything you can, look for any conceivable advantage. I mean, racers are by nature greedy, and you will look for any advantage.
And I mean, you're going pretty fast on this warm-up lap because you want to get the tires up to temperature so they're not cold. And then also, this is your chance to kind of get a feel of the track, even though you were out there not too long ago. But as temperatures rise, the tracks kind of change a little bit, and you want to get the tires warm and be somewhat careful. But you definitely want to try to learn something on this lap.
And talking about the conditions and the like here, it was yesterday afternoon when they qualified, it was in the mid-80s. It was toasty, and right now it's 66 degrees, so it's vastly different. And to track that with a lot of rain on it was greened up or scrubbed just a little bit, so a lot for them to be dealing with. It's time for a fresh restart here. Let's get back to Greg White and Jason Pridmore.
Welcome back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta after the red flag here at Junior Cup race number 1. An incident that involved JT Rivera. Jason.
Yeah, he gets out on the gravel, and probably at this point, he's probably thinking he's got this pretty well under control, but you see it starts kind of huckabucking underneath him, Greg, and pile drives himself into the gravel. So good news is, though.
Yeah, I've heard JT's going to be okay after a quick ambulance ride. So the laps have been reduced to 7 in race number 1. So we have 7 laps to go on this full race restart. DeMario still on the pole. So it's time to get another good start. And the red lights go off. We're going. Start number 2 for race number 1 of Junior Cup. Here we go. turn number 1. Not a great start from your pole sitter. Didn't quite get off the line to get swallowed up. So the number 70 losing all kinds of positions, but it looks like it's going to be the 69 of Hayden Bickneys who will lead it again.
Again, yeah, Greg, another good start from the 69, and this just goes to show you, like, a lot of confidence right now coming into this season for Bickneys. He's done a nice job so far in qualifying. Kind of been here before. He gets a big moment, though, as he gets down, starting to run down through the S's, and any advantage he has been swallowed back up there.
Through the famous X's here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, a 2.5-mile road course with 12 corners.
Much better start from Max Van also, as he slots himself there into third, and I think that's Rossi Moore, Greg, in fourth on that KTM. So a couple of the guys that were battling for fourth early on and before our red flag came out, they're up there with the leaders now.
Looks like our pole sitter back in 6th spot.
He'll be able to draft his way up as they come out of that corner here, turn 7. Now they got this long run down. He's going to have 2 or 3 people probably pulling alongside each other that will create a hole there for DeMario to try to squeeze in. You can see him there on the yellow fendered Altus Motorsports number 70 motorcycle back there. He's got himself there, Greg, still in 6th, but this is where he'll start to draw in on the back of him. As you see, Max Van now takes the lead. Rossi Moore looks to go down the inside of him on their first run down into turn 10.
So Max Van is on the 48. The only rider in this class that's won a race in Junior Cup. Of course, on that SportBikeTrackHere.com sponsored entry. And then the 34 of Moore on that orange KTM. And Jay, looking at those two motorcycles, the width profile is incredible. Look at the girth on the Kawasaki Ninja 400 versus that KTM RC390R. A very sleek motorcycle as Moore takes over the lead. So there goes the 34 of Moore. So Rossi Moore out of Portland, Oregon on that Farium NGRT Gray Area Racing KTM RC390R.
And what's wild is we had a big thunderstorm roll through here last night. They didn't get a warm-up. They did get a warm-up this morning, but the track was soaking wet for our Junior Cup participants. And Greg, Rossi was some 3 seconds off the pace yesterday. He's come from row number 3. So 3 seconds back. And, you know, that first start probably showed him some things. And look at the confidence it gives you to get that bike back up to the front. And Rossi Moore now leading the race and finding a lot of time overnight. So that team probably made some changes to help him out. And he's doing a really good job.
As Rossi Moore makes his way out of turn number 7, it's a long back straightaway for drafting and passing. We'll see how this goes by the time they get to turn 10. But now an opportunity to welcome third member of the broadcast team, Hannah Lopa, in the mix. And Hannah, Rossi Moore on the 34, out front right now, looking strong.
And Greg, I caught up with him yesterday. It's not the first time that we've seen Rossi Moore in our paddock. We saw him in the Mini Cup by Motul in the past. He's also been racing the Northern Talent Cup in Northern Europe the last couple years. Just 15 years old, happy to be back in MotoAmerica. This is actually his first time at this track, and his very first time sitting on this motorcycle was on Friday. So he's definitely learning a lot. But if history tells us anything about this young rider, he will definitely be in the mix all season long.
That explains a lot, Hannah. I mean, when you come to Road Atlanta for the first time, it can definitely be daunting, and on a bike you haven't ridden before. So really nice work from Rossi. Like I said, got together with his team last night, probably dissected the track a little bit more, and now he's running right up at the front. What do we have, Greg? We have a lead group of about 7 or 8 riders that came across the line that time. It was Max Van. Rossi was actually in second when they came across the line. He's got himself back up into first. Dreyer, Bickneys, DeMario, Black, and Medina are all there. And somebody who just went straight off into the grass, that is Bickneys, Greg. So he might lose the toe. So we'll see if he's able to get back on the back of these guys. He's probably going to lose some time. You see Medina there on the white bike, and there's Bickneys. So running off in the grass, especially overnight with all that rain that we had, that made it a very compromising situation.
This
there
Georgia
for sure.
clay, when it's wet, JP, is like snot. It is so slippery. So a good save by Bickneys just to keep the thing on 2 wheels. So Rossi Moore leading the way. Another look at it, JP.
He just got it a little bit wrong at the top. It gets very narrow and one lined up in that area, and it's very simple to actually do what he just did there. And if he could have just got the bike slowed down a little bit more, he might not have been able to run back off in the grass again. But I think if you see how close he is to the edge here, let's see if he can, we didn't quite see if he can get a turn. DeMario's got a problem.
Oh, no. Yeah, so your pole sitter, Alessandro DeMario, looking down at the bike, and unfortunately for the Altus Motorsports rider, he might be out of this one.
What was 7 is now 4. So
just like that, yeah,
Medina is still there. Medina is still there. So We'll check on Yendel's progress here, but he's still on the back of these 4. He's just got to close it up a little bit more. But Max Van, kind of the guy I think that a lot of people would earmark as the guy to try to beat this year, only because of his success so far in the Junior Cup in the last couple of years. He's still got some company with him there as Rossi Moore looks to go by on the outside, and you can see Bickney's just off the back there. He's going to do everything he can. We're going to be watching his lap times, but it's going to be a lot harder for Hayden to do it on his own.
This is also a really good look to see the balance of these motorcycles. There's a lot thought that the KTM might be the dominant bike on the back straightaway, and it's Chase Black on the 14 who takes over second spot from Moore. So Chase Black on the 3D Motorsports Ninja 400 now trying to make his presence known. But it's the class veteran at 17 years old, Max Van, who continues to lead the way, going a little bit wide. You know, if you watch MotoAmerica and you watch the variety of classes we have, there are different line choices with these smaller displacement motorcycles. They don't have the grunt to get you out of the corner like a super bike. So, Jay, the lines that they choose look a little different than our larger displacement bikes.
Yeah, they carry a lot of corner speed, and you can see Chase Black put his arm up there probably as a get in line with me here. He's trying to go past Max Van. He's in the draft. But yeah, I mean, these little bikes, they can maneuver so much more, Greg, and the straightaways look like they take forever. Later on, when we're watching our superbike class, the straightaway on the back is 180 mile an hour. It will go by a lot quicker than it does for these guys on these small bikes. So Rossi Moore finds himself back up at the front with Avery Dreyer now slotting in behind the KTM rider, Max Van and Chase Black, who were first and second coming onto the straightaway, now back to third and fourth. Max Van doesn't look like he gets out of 10B very good. I noticed that a little bit earlier as well, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But Rossi Moore back up at the front.
Yeah, that can also be gearing choice.
Yeah, 100%.
So important on these smaller displacement motorcycles to make sure your gearing's right. And, you know, if you don't get with somebody in practice in the back straightaway here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, you might be bumping off the rev limiter. Another pass for the lead. Up into the top turn 2 area. This is where it gets one line, as Jason was talking about. So the 99 Avery Dreyer, the 16-year-old.
Man, he's fast through that little section, too. He pulls
certainly is
3 or 4 bike lengths away from Rossi Moore just at the top of that hill. So Avery Dreyer, if he can get his head down and try to break away as best he can, Rossi does a really good job of drawing back up as they entered turn 5, carried a lot of speed through the middle of 5 and got a good drive up over the hill. He's right back behind Dreyer as they tip into turn 6 now, Greg.
Avery Dreyer on the Bad Boys Racing Ninja 400 out of Rockledge, Florida. And Jay, fastest lap of the race, a 1:42.2 by Hayden Bickneys, who's worked his way back onto the back of this group.
So good. So Hayden Bickneys, after running through the grass, has been able to find his way back into that lead group. As you can see him in the back of these guys trying to draft past Yendel Medina right now. Now we're going to be 5-6 wide as they come down into here. Max Van, he's having a look down the inside, but it's going to be Rossi Moore late on the brakes. He's going to be able to pull away. Let's see if Max Van's drive is out of here this time, G-Dub. Doesn't look as bad this time, but you can see he still loses a little time.
He's 100% throttle, and
Correct.
it just doesn't seem like he's in the same RPM range. Maybe it's also size. You know, that's the one thing about this class, Jason. You and I have been doing Junior Cup for quite a while, and you know, when these riders start off at 14 years old, just in 3 short years, they grow into young adults.
No question. We see these guys get bigger each year.
I hear some rev limiters there.
A lot of rev limiters. Max Van there in second, and you know, Max Van's one of the taller kids, but he's a super fit guy. So, but again, it's just size of you know, you get bigger, you get taller. More weight, but it just looks like he's just struggling a little bit. And where that could become a problem, especially on the last lap, is if he's got the lead going into 10 and doing the work. If he can't drive out of there, he's making himself a little susceptible to somebody coming down the inside of him into the last corner here on the run to the checkered flag. But he's done a good job to get himself back into second place. Rossi Moore has a look over his shoulder.
If you're wondering how fast these motorcycles go, about 120 miles an hour in a draft. I'm looking for room on the racetrack as Yendel Medina tried to turn into the apex of turn number 6 and couldn't get it done. But here we go, onto the back straightaway again. About a lap and a half remains. Now you're thinking all strategy here in Junior Cup. Where do I want to be on this racetrack? This is an important draft down the back straightaway to position yourself where you think you need to be on the final lap.
Yeah, no question. If you can get yourself up into that top 3 or 4 right now, and I think that Chase Black's in a great spot. He got a 3-rider draft. You can see him there on the 14. He's going to pull out to the right side of our screen. He's going to slot himself back into 3rd. Bickney's now from the grass, Greg, has got himself all the way back into 4th place. He's in a really good spot right now. These guys come up through the bridge, getting really close between Chase Black and Dreyer as they come over up underneath that Fox Bridge. And now, going to see the white flag there on the right-hand side, and we're going to see if there's any passing or maybe go 2 or 3 wide as they get ready to break for turn 1.
Max Van in the mix, Avery Dreyer, Chase Black, Hayden Bickneys, Rossi Moore, Yandel Medina. It sure feels like on this final lap, one of these 6 is going to win a race. The only one in the group that's won before is the 48 of Max Van on that sportbiketrackgear.com.
Oh, no, these 2 guys right next to each other. Oh. Yandel, by the way, just made an amazing pass around the outside of Rossi Moore, which set him up to the inside as they got to the top of the hill. So really nice move from the 39 there, 5th in your screen. He is in a good spot, Greg, to maybe try to draft by a person here and then put himself in the shop window to look at a podium place. So you can see the 39 there moving around. And it looks, he almost ran out of track, but he gets himself maybe into 4th. We'll have a look.
All right, so Chase Black had a look behind him. That's the 14 leading the way. He's going to try to get a monster drive out of here, but in these Junior Cup bikes, he's got a decent gap, but it's not going to be enough, Jay. I don't think so. There's a lot of air being moved around behind him.
Yeah, these guys are going to start to draw up to the back of the 14 again, and you can see Max Van pulls out and gets through. Chase Black goes back to 4th. Yandel Medina now in the yellow leathers trying to get down the inside. And how about Bickney's on the very inside, but Dreyer stuffs it down the inside on the 99. Rossi Moore trying to get up to 2nd. Maybe he's going to fall back to 3rd.
And it looks like Avery Dreyer's doing it. He's got a good run out of it. Oh, and almost some contact there. Now into the final corner. Down the hill on the brakes. It's the 99. He's got the job done as long as he can finish the corner. Here we go to the checkered flag, and it's going to be Avery Dreyer who wins it over Max Van. Hayden Bickneys from nowhere comes back to finish 3rd. Rossi Moore in 4th. Chase Black and Yandel Medina, your top 6. Margin of victory, 0.6 of a second. Boy, that was a dominating win by Avery Dreyer in this class, Jason.
No, that's a really good move there for Avery Dreyer to get his first win here in the Junior Cup program at Road Atlanta. He did a really nice job, and it came right down to what you said, Greg, that draft and pass on the back straightaway, and he's able to get through as they come up under the bridge, and you're going to see here, this is coming out of turn 10B. Rossi Moore moves over. Bickney almost hits the back, probably did, and you can see Chase Black tries to take advantage of that on the left side of your screen there. Yandel goes down the inside of both of those guys, would run a little wide on the exit. You can see in the yellow there, and Rossi Moore and Chase Black were able to get back through. But Bickney's, I think, is going to look back on this and gain a lot of confidence knowing that he was able to run these guys down by himself with no draft.
Bad Boy Racing crew will definitely celebrate this big victory. As Jason, when you look at the tail of this race and you look at the laps, race pace, Avery Dreyer, that move, that win on the brakes into turn 10A. That's what set the stage. We knew that Max Van wasn't quite getting the drive out in 2nd place, and that's that 0.6 margin of victory.
And he runs his fastest lap of the race on the last lap. His fastest split in Sector 3 was the quickest of the race as well. So that's going to be a big win for him, and it's nice to see some new winners. These guys, all 3 of these guys, like we talked about, Greg, they've all got experience in this class, and that really showed at the end of the race.
Chris Clark was your 7th place finisher. Ivan Rivera in 8th. Logan Cunnison in 9th. Aiden Sneed rounding out your top 10. So we have 3 different manufacturers in the top 10 of this one. When we come back, we're going to talk to our winner, Avery Dreyer, and find out how Avery was able to manage 5 other riders around him and take victory.
Well, a couple of the top contenders make their way underneath the bridge at turn 11 and head down into pit lane in front of a big crowd here. And as Greg and Jason were talking about, experience showed at the front of this one. But still in all, what a ride by Rossi Moore.
Yeah, great ride by him. Was a little bit off pace yesterday, and we didn't know if he would be in that lead group. But, you know, being a young, talented rider he is, you know, just being such a good rider, learning each lap. And when the lights went out, he found a lot of time and looked good. You know, I thought at one time through the S's, he was going to try to make a break. But it was a great ride by all these guys. Chase Black, even Yandel Medina, last lap, last corner, tried to make up a couple spots. But awesome to see Avery Dreher get his first win. He's been trying for a while in this class and just getting better and better. And this year, so far, it's finally paid off for him. And it's really cool always to see these kids get their first win, because they've, even though they're young, they've dedicated their whole life so far to this.
Well, and you've watched Avery develop over the years, and it's got to be really, really, gratifying to see him pull this off. Let's give a shout out to Chris Clark. Chris started this race. He qualified 13th, ended up in 7th, and Ivan Rivera was back in the 22nd spot after qualifying, had a problem, finished 8th. So there are some riders that passed an awful lot of bikes out there and really put on a show.
And we're just talking about each lap just getting better, that experience. I know a couple guys went out that kind of might have helped a little bit, but you can tell just looking at the guys' lap times just how much faster they are today than they were yesterday. The younger guys moving up to the class. The draft is going to help, but also just getting a ride with the other riders and see what they're doing.
Just gaining experience. I mean, that's it. And being that sponge, we've talked about that. Just every little bit of data, whether it's, in terms of data that's gathered, from sensors and the like, or the sensors in your head, you've got to process that and make it work. So just an absolutely great job, and they put on one heck of an entertaining show. So it's time for the podiums, and we're going to head back over to the booth.
MotoAmerica Junior Cup coverage is brought to you by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Welcome back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. A 0.6 of a second margin victory for Avery Dreher over Max Van and Hayden Bickney's 1.1 back. Just a great ride from Bickney's, I think, to really save what happened up in turn number 2. Let's get right down to Hannah, who's in victory lane with our winner.
Greg, the last podium appearance for Avery Dreher was last year at VIR in 3rd place, but today, a career first victory for the number 99. Avery, take us through those final laps. It was quite the battle, but you came out ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I got to thank all my competitors for the great race. That was an awesome battle. Sucks that we had the red flag. Hope the rider's all right. But I got to thank the whole Bad Boys Racing team for all their hard work. Big thanks to Dale Quarterly for everything he does. This definitely wouldn't be possible without him and all the advice he gives me. Got a good start on that second restart, and then Rossi Moore came up with us. We had quite a big group, I think, but just got a plan in my head. I got in the right spot. I wanted to be on that last lap, so yeah, good job to everyone. Thank you to all my sponsors. Rangeline Tapping Services, Global Racing Oil, KYT, Brevard Superbike, SFL Mini GP, MV Racing Apparel. Looking for another good day tomorrow.
Congratulations, the first STG Junior Cup race winner of the 2023 season, guys.
And what a run, Jason. This is all about that learning experience. And with this class Junior Cup, oftentimes this is the kind of racing you get.
Yeah, there's no question. And you see a couple of the new people like Rossi Moore up front there, and we know DeMario will be back tomorrow. They're going to be in this mix all season long. But for Dreher, it's a great first win. Another
huge opportunity for all the riders that are behind, too, to really go back and talk to their team and see about adjustments that can be made tomorrow. And we expect great weather all the way to the end of the weekend. So tomorrow morning's warm-up for a lot of those riders like Clark and Rivera, Cunnison, to really make some adjustments and work their way up towards the front. We could have more than 6 all the way to the checkered flag. We certainly hope you enjoyed our coverage of Junior Cup. For Jason and Hannah, I'm Greg. We'll see you again soon.